Hello, and welcome to an edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm going to look at the New York Times Hard Sudoku. We look at this puzzle every now and again, prompted, to be honest, by your emails. So if we get a lot of emails requesting this puzzle, then I will try and do it, because it's actually my favourite of the daily Sudokus that are published, or daily classic Sudokus that are published. Of all of those around the world, I think it's a very good standard in general, and it normally requires some interesting logic to solve it. So let's have a look at how we would do this one. Now, with the New York Times, the first thing you should do, in my opinion, is to look for open chutes within boxes. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, my eyes are immediately drawn to this top right box and these three cells. And you can see that we've got the numbers 1, 2 and 4 in the box, so I know these three cells are not the numbers 1, 2 and 4, but I know I need to put the numbers 1, 2 and 4 into row 3. Well, there's only, because we've got a 7 and a 9 in the row already, there's actually only 4 cells now that could contain the numbers 1, 2 and 4. So what I like to do is have a quick scan down these columns, see if I can see the numbers 1, 2 and 4, because if I can, I'll find a hidden triple straight away without doing anything clever. And here I can't, but that doesn't mean it was wrong to do it. So let's do the same thing down here in box 9. We've got 3, 8 and 9 and an open file, these three cells. So 3, 8 and 9 must appear in these 4 open cells in the rows. And again, nothing doing. Nothing doing, but still, I do recommend that. I think it's always worth a try with the New York Times puzzle. So we'll go on to standard technique, by which I mean I'll make little pencil marks in 3 by 3 blocks if a number can go in exactly 2 positions in the block, and we'll see how far this takes us. 2's here, look. I don't tend to do this in any particular order. Some people like to go you know, in very rigorous order from 1 through to 9. I do not do that. I tend to just go where my eyes take me now. And all the time I'm sort of logging information. So as we go through here at the moment, I'm noticing things like there are not many 7's in the grid, only 2. There are not many 8's in the grid, only 2. There are not many 6's in the grid, only 2. And this is sort of building up a pattern as to where I'm probably going to be, I need to focus attention on other numbers, I guess. Now we have a 9 here and a 9 here, so we get to pencil mark 9's into those 2 squares. And because of the 9's in these 2 squares, there's only one place a 9 can go now in this bottom middle box, and that's there. 9's. And always try and work with what you've just done. So this 9 here, it's not that helpful in terms of 9's, but it does restrict this box, obviously, and now the 2's become more interesting. So before we had this 9, I wouldn't have known a great deal about 2's, and what I would have known wouldn't have been very helpful. But once this 9's in the grid, all of a sudden, 2's are now locked into exactly these 2 positions. And now that means those 2 squares must be a 2, because of the 2 here and the 2 in one of these 2 squares. Ah, and there we go, there is a triple now. And now we've got these pencil marks here with 2's and 5's. Let's look at 3's. We've got a 3 here and a 3 here. So the 3's in this central box have to go into the same cells that I've got these pencil marks in for the 2 and the 5. I'll do it longhand. So this is a triple now. The numbers 2, 3 and 5 occupy these 3 cells, so no other numbers can go into these cells. Therefore, these 3 cells must be 1, 4 and 8. And with this 4 here, this is a 4. That might be helpful. So 4's, let's see what we can do. Anything else? Not really. And these two cells now must be 1 and 8, so let's put those in, which means, that's helpful, 8, an 8 in one of these two squares, and this 8 means this square must be an 8. Eights into one of those two squares. Let's just check the ones. Yeah, ones are good as well, because these ones and this one interact on this block. Force a 1 into one of those two squares, which means there's a 1 in one of those two positions. 2, 7, 9. No, so you can see in row 4 here we need the numbers 2, 7 and 9, but although these two squares are both doubles, they're not reduced to singles. So, but this 8 is interesting, because now we looked at the 1, 2 and the 4 at the start, and you know the effect they have on row 3, but this cell is now very restricted, because if we look at the contents of column 7, in fact I'm not sure it can be 1, it can't be 1, it can't be 2, this cell here, it can't be 1, 2, it can't be 3, 4, 5, can be 6, can't be 7, 8 or 9. This square can only be a 6. So, and that's very helpful, because 6, 6, this square here must be a 6 now. And you can pencil mark 6's into these two squares because of this 6 and this 6. And that means this must be a 6. And we get a 6, 9 pair now. Look at that in the bottom. So that's also quite helpful. Okay, so can we see anything more? 6. This 4, because the 4 now cannot go in either of these two squares, because we know these two squares are exactly filled with the numbers 6 and 9, the 4's must be in one of these two positions in this block. And that means the 4's are in one of those two positions in this block, which means this can't be a 4. That must be the 4 there. 5 here, and this 5 here. I mean, we get to pencil mark 5's into those two squares, and therefore one of these two positions. Threes, this 3 and this 3 mean one of those two squares is a 3. Now, what next? A good question. 2, 6. So what, by the way, what I'm doing here, I know I've suddenly gone silent, but what I'm trying to spot is weak areas of the grid. So here we go. If we look at column 4, you can see we've got 6 numbers, so it's a very natural place to look for the next digit. We need the numbers 1, 5 and 8. Well, this square here sees a 1 and a 5, so that must be an 8. That's, which gives us an 8 and a 1, and a 5 here. It allows us to pencil mark 8's at the top. Pencil mark 1's into these two squares because of the 3 1's I've just highlighted. And this 5 now means this isn't a 5, this must be a 5. Which means this must be a 5 because of the 5's in these two squares. And now I'm going to look at column 8, because again I've got to 6 digits in this column. I need 2, 3 and 7, so this square sees a 2 and a 7, so this square is a 3, which means, now this is very nice, because now this 3 is going to have a major impact on the pencil marks in this block. Look, we now know this is a 3, but the moment I put this 3 in, I'm taking up one of the pencil marks for the 1's. So I know that the other pencil mark must be true. So I'm able to go 3, 1, and look, Now this is not a 1, so I can go 1, 4, 5. All immediately, all without thinking, and all simply off the back of the earlier logic that we've already done. So this 2 here now means, oops, this is a 2 and this is a 7. And therefore this should be a 9 because it needs to be to complete the column. And this 3 means this is a 3, which means this is a 5 and this is a 2. So again, all of a sudden, we've now done all the 5s. We've made a real flurry of progress. This 2 here means that this can't be the 2 anymore. Now this must be a 7 to complete that row. Let's mark some 7s into those 2 squares. We've got this 6, 9 pair here, so this square will have to be a 4. And therefore this should be a 7. And you can see, I think we're on the home straight now. We need a 4 into one of these 2 positions, which must be this way round. And now there must be a 4 into one of these 2 squares, which makes a nice 2, 4 pair. So into the open positions in row 3, I need the numbers 1 and 8, where you can see this 1 here now means I can go like that, which means this isn't a 1 anymore. So 1, 8, that should be a 7. We can complete this with a 9. We need 2s and 7s, look, this can't be a 3 anymore. 2s and 7s, I think we don't know the answer to those yet, so let's put 2 and 7 in like this. This is a 2 or a 7, can't see how to resolve it. Let's just check. Now if we look at row 6, oops, I didn't mean to do that, we still need to put a 9 in. We have a 9 here, so the moment I place this 9, I take the position of the 6, I can unwind the pair at the bottom, get this change of font, which is an idiosyncrasy of the New York Times software. When the font changes, it means you've done all of that number. I found that very disturbing the first time it happened. Now 8s must be in one of those 2 squares. In this block, look, we need to still find a home for a 3, so we can pencil mark 3s in. This 8 has a big effect on this block when combined with this 8. That's going to force an 8 into this square, and that's going to allow us to back into the pencil marks at the bottom. 8, 3, 4 like that, 4, 2. Now this must be a 2, 2, 7. We need 1 and 7 here, so that must be this way around, I think. All sorts of things are changing font. 3, 3 and 6. You can see I need 6s and 7s, so sort of it tells me what I need, and there we go. So that's how to do today's New York Times puzzle. As usual, quality puzzle. I recommend it. I think, add it to your daily fodder. You'll definitely improve at Sudoku. Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.